This is what makes it.
You're watching Oakeneden TV.
.com.
OakenEdenTV.com.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Fireside Chats.
What's up, guys?
Hey, man.
Howdy, Brad.
How you doing?
Zach? You guys are awesome. Appreciate y'all being here. Got some whiskey. Your whiskey.
That we do.
Round Prairie Rye. How do we like it?
Goes down easy.
It goes down with a fight, which I like. It's not, I think it's easy to make smooth whiskey, but I think it takes more skill to make exciting whiskey. And this is exciting whiskey.
I like that.
Well, yeah.
So,
Cheers.
I am always interested in creatives and artists who have gone from kind of this place of, going out and pursuing their passion and their dreams, and then they take on this meteoric rise. And you guys have done that in some really cool ways. I just love to know, what were the early days like, and how did the band get started? Jamestown Revival.
Gosh, early days was Zach and I driving around the country. And we talk about this sometimes, but we literally used to sleep in the back of the Tahoe. We'd get all of our gear and put it in the front two seats in the car, and we had a lot of camping, camping sleeping pads, and we'd blow up these little sleeping pads and sleep in the back of the car, crack the window, and
Yeah, we'd find a truck stop,
at truck
move
stops.
the gear to the front, try to cover it as best we could to protect it. And
Yeah.
Sleep and crack a window
and sleep with
in
one
the
eye
back.
open.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and play in people's living rooms and play in awful hole in the walls where we were literally playing in a corner, not even an elevated stage.
Didn't give you any love.
No, I think all it did was give us a genuine appreciation for getting to a place where there are people that come to see us play.
Love that.
Yeah, John used to email bars and different clubs with a fake Gmail account that was our booking agent.
What was his name or her name?
It was
Is Brian.
Brian.
Yeah, I remember that. So there was a dude in our high school. His name is Brian Cook. And I thought, he uses...
Brian's Cook sounds like a booking agent.
Yeah,
he does. And
totally.
he was a cool guy. He was one of those guys that played every sport. He was kind of good at everything he did.
Does he know this?
No, he has no idea. He
think we need to call him
probably
and tell him.
wouldn't even remember my
Track
name.
Brian
I
Cook
always,
down.
I wasn't the biggest guy in high school. Not the biggest guy still, but I kind of looked up to this guy. And so my booking persona, I took on Brian Cook's confidence.
So speaking of names, if Brian Cook was the fictitious booking agent, Jamestown Revival,
Yeah.
where'd that come from?
That actually started about 15 yards that way, in the old trailer house,
In Huntsville, right here,
Huntsville,
Yeah.
Texas.
on your ranch.
Yeah, this land has been in my family for over 50 years at this point. But I remember Zach and I came up here, and we came up here we've been coming up here since we were 15, 16 years old, but we came up here with the explicit purpose to write songs, and we wrote a handful of songs, and we'd never written music up here, and it just felt different, and it felt special, and so we thought, man, let's run with this. And so we came up with the name Jamestown Revival, and it's really just a metaphor for a kind of a fresh, a new beginning.
New beginnings, yeah.
A new start.
Jamestown, I'm assuming in the town in, was it Virginia?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the first town,
First
right?
colony.
Yeah.
First colony, yeah.
So,
Why Revival?
Because we love Creedence Clearwater Revival.
yeah.
I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest
I wish
with
we
you.
had a better reason. We
Yeah.
were listening to a lot of Creedence every time we would come up here, or come out here. As soon as we would turn on the dirt road that's Round Prairie Road, it was Creedence Clearwater Revival, and so we'd roll the windows down and start cruising to that first gate, and we just loved the ring of the name, and the idea was new beginnings, fresh start, making a different kind of music than we'd been making before.
And I think kind of a throwback to the old as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of where the revival comes from.
Yeah.
So you're playing bars and restaurants in Texas, California.
Mostly in California.
We had just moved. I think right around the time we decided to start the band, we had made up our minds to move to California. So we maybe wrote 3 or 4 songs for Jamestown.
Yeah, we had 3 or 4 songs. We got the bright idea to move to California.
Yeah.
I convinced my wife it was a good decision.
And this was like you had no label, you had no record.
We had no
You're just-
manager. We had Brian Cook as our booking agent.
He was amazing though.
He was
Prestigious.
here.
he was mediocre at
Oh, he
best.
was?
I wouldn't say he was amazing.
Great in high school, but not a great
yeah,
booking agent.
yeah, great
Booking
basketball
agent.
player, not
Questionable.
booking agent, but yeah, we took off and we got to California and started just playing everywhere we could. And
I think we knew we wanted to change. I don't think we realized how beneficial it would be to be uncomfortable, to sort of shock the system in that way and move to a part of the country we'd never really spent a lot of time and we didn't know a lot of people, and that was a catalyst for a lot of the songs we wrote for our first record.
So looking back with hindsight, good decision?
absolutely.
Yeah, don't regret it for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, we spun our wheels a lot. We wasted a lot of time, but I guess it wasn't a waste of time because you swing 10 times, and 1 out of 10 times you make some bit of contact,
Yeah.
and you swing enough, and that contact starts to add up, and that was kind of what happened out in California.
Yeah, and great. I mean, that's songwriting.
Yeah, it was songwriting. It was meeting a real booking agent and finally firing Brian. It was
Poor Brian.
it was getting to play some really cool places out in California. It was just getting in the car and heading north and playing our way up the coast and learning how to play a show because we hadn't really played a lot of shows. It's not something you're born knowing how to do, at least not us. I mean, we're still trying to figure that out. But
That will always
Yeah.
be trying to figure that.
I'm still waiting to play a good show.
Yeah.
One day we'll play
We'll
a
get
good
there.
show.
I do think one of the great things about playing in a room where nobody, in an empty bar or somewhere where nobody wants it. We've played, we've been background noise in a lot of places. I think one of the greatest things we've learned is how to get people to stop and pay attention. And if you can do that, then that's like enough courage to keep going. And that was the reward a lot of times is like, can we get people to stop what they're doing and kind of pay attention for a minute?
And sometimes we never did.
Yeah, sometimes you fail miserably.
We
yeah.
built a lot of camaraderie trying.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what made it all work. What made it all count.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Still we have good shows and we have bad shows, and I think when we have bad shows, I think all those nights of really thickening that skin and building that camaraderie, I think I'm appreciative of that because I don't know, sometimes my voice is hoarse or I really biff a guitar note or I don't know. One of us is beating ourselves up for something we did,
Something
and it's
or
like,
other, yeah.
we can get through this. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just music.
I
We're
think-
not curing cancer.
I do, being a little bit removed from it now, those are some of my favorite memories of playing music. Is we used to stop in this little town in Northern California called Truckee. And we would, the hotel there, Truckee Hotel, would put us up for 2 nights and we would play music for 3 hours each night with a little break in between it. And it would be us two and maybe our bass player, sometimes a drummer, and it would just be this party, this like rambunctious little room of people, and those are some of my favorite memories of playing show.
Yeah, we'd go ghost hunting at night.
It was a haunted. Yeah, it's a haunted hotel. So
We'd go up there with
after we closed the bar down, we'd go ghost hunting in the
Yeah.
old hotel.
We'd go up there with our buddy Paul, and the next morning there's all kinds of stories.
Tons of ghost stories.
Yeah.
Ghost story. They're always those are the where it gets weird.
Yeah.
So you talked about writing your first album, Utah, and I know that was kind of an accidental success. That y'all had written that and then sent it out to the world, and it hit without Brian.
Brian, well, he did play a small part in that.
did.
You know, he did.
He got us there. Yeah.
He got us a few shows. You know, we recorded Utah as demos. Those were not meant to be released ever. We had a handful of songs that we thought could make an album, and so our plan was to go record them as best we could and just release them, or not release them, pitch them as demos to maybe try to get, I don't know, a label or a manager or whatever. And once we recorded them, it was we got sucked in, and we wanted to make them better, and we got excited because it was, I think maybe we knew in the back of our minds, maybe we are going to release these.
And then y'all recorded them yourselves.
We did. We
Produced them and everything.
We
The
did.
help
We
of a
we,
friend, yeah.
we co-produced them with the help of a friend we had in Los Angeles. It was a lot of favors from a couple friends, and we recorded that whole album live in a living room in a cabin in
I think
Utah.
over 5 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it took off, and then you thought, uh-oh, we've got to do this again.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've got to make California again, and all those songs that people fell in love with. But I know that you had a kind of a moment in time where you realized that you can't just remake Utah. You had to develop a new sound. You had to kind of come to a point where you recognize that you've grown as people and you've grown in your music. What was that like to release that second album? You already had the momentum going.
You know, I think the simple fact that nobody's waiting on your first album, you know. And then if you put out some music that people are into, people start to anticipate your new music. They're ready for new music. They're tired of your first album. And you start to all of a sudden feel this pressure to get new music out and to keep whatever you did right the first time around going the second time around. And so I think we had to learn how to navigate that and to write with this perceived pressure. And I think it taught us a lot, kind of just going through that. And
It's weird to have expectations to write to. Yeah, it's strange to question to question to have something to compare it to was, I think, it was obviously new for us, but intimidating.
Yeah, and
in
it
some
got
ways, yeah.
We got voted what was it in 2014 by iTunes, the best independent, or what was the accolade you got?
Utah, it was singer-songwriter album of the year on the iTunes by the editorial staff there,
So
which
you
was
had
really cool.
Expectations to live up to on, not just for yourselves, but you now have this whole new following.
Yeah, well, when we got that, I was like, oh, they'd probably give that to like 10 different people, you know.
Yeah.
Then I realized, wow, that's really cool. They only give that to one Americana band in a year, and there's a lot of great music that came out this year, so that's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah, I think ultimately what we had to go through was, I don't know, there's all this voodoo around your sophomore slump, and there's all this weird secretive whisper around it, and our second album was not my favorite, but I think our second album was necessary, and I think our second album was a real stepping stone, and I think there's some real cool songs on it. But I think where we really came full circle and came back around was our third album, our most recent one. I felt like for us, our mindset writing it and our mindset recording it was correct. It was any label, any radio, any charts, any of that was the last farthest thing in our mind when we were recording it. When we were writing it, we were just writing music that we wanted to write. And I love all the songs. I love playing all the songs. That's the real barometer, is do you like playing the songs live?
Mm-hmm.
Do you enjoy playing those songs in front of an audience every night?
So what changed between 2 and 3?
I think it was I think it was just experience, perspective. You know, going from coming off an album that was moderately successful, signing with the biggest label in the country, coming under all this pressure, and our A&R guy, we had a conference call with our A&R guy, and he told us they need radio rocket launchers. And Zach and I were like, we've never tried to write a radio rocket launcher in our lives. What is a radio rocket launcher?
That's very
I don't even know what that is.
strong image in my brain.
We have no idea how to build one of those. And whether you like it or not, that stuff seeps into your subconscious. And so we parted ways with our label after album 2, and it was at that point the only people we had to please were ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only people we are accountable to. And both of our biggest priorities is just writing songs that feel real to us, songs that where we really feel like we have something to say. And so I think writing under that pretense just naturally led to songs that we really feel like we can get behind.
Yeah. Santa Isabel was that. I mean, the latest album, it's raw. Kind of gets back to the roots.
Yeah, that's what we wanted. I mean, when we got together to make that album, when we started writing, I think that was our agreement with each other, was let's just, I mean, John has this space at the back of his house, this small studio, which we recorded some of the songs in. And we would get together 5 days a week, 4 days a week, and write. And it was just, let's search for things that feel honest to us, because that's what we wanted. It just feels better to take that on the road and to play that for people. And so I think it's funny, you want to bat 1,000 always, but it's impossible. And so there's so many good and bad experiences we've had along the way, and certainly with recording, that you're like, okay, I wouldn't do that again, just like I probably wouldn't date this or that person again, or and in hindsight, it's like, oh, that's all growth. But at the time, you're like, oh, you just want to nail it every time.
So let's talk about Whisky.
Yeah.
So we got to partner together, Oak and Eden and Jamestown Revival, creating what we have affectionately called Round Prairie Rye.
That's right.
It's amazing. It's a barrel-proof rye blend with a French oak spire inside the bottle, finishing it over time, creating these really unique, creamy, sweet flavors to it. And when we had first started talking to you guys about what are we going to create and why and how does it represent you as a band and as people, and what are you, what are you trying to say, and how do we make that come to life in a bottle of whiskey? This is what you guys came up with, and why?
I guess to even take a step back before that, I have wanted to distill my own whiskey for a long time. I got a book on home distilling. I was talking to Joe about this, and I learned about mashes, I learned about column stills, about reflux stills, and I learned about how whiskey is made and how to do it in your garage, and I never did it, but I really wanted to. And I wanted, but the distiller's permit was a little steep for my blood, so I kind of let that dream die, and when y'all approached us, Zach and I talked about it, and it was exciting because it was a way to dip our toes in creating our own whiskey without having to jump through all the hoops, hoops that y'all have already jumped through. And I think that was right off the bat one of the things that excited us the most. And then, as far as the flavor profile, like I said earlier, I feel like it's at this point there's almost a formula to make a quote unquote smooth tasting whiskey, a mild tasting whiskey, take the burn out of the whiskey. But to me, I like whiskeys that are bold, that are big, that I want my whiskey to come with a little heat, which is why we went with the cask strength. I like, a complex flavor. We tried different oak in the bottle, and we went with the French oak. We just felt like the complexity of the flavor with the French oak was
it's
just bigger.
It's interesting to try all these different flavors and things that are attacking your palate, and
they're attacking ours.
Yeah. But I think ultimately when we found the right combination, it's like a good pair of underwear, it just feels comfortable. It just
That's
feels
exactly
right.
what I was thinking, Zach.
I mean, that's what we said to each other.
Yeah,
when
we said,
man, this is like my favorite pair of underwear. It just feels
exactly.
right.
Yeah, it's I couldn't have put it better myself. But no, I was texting with my wife earlier, and I sent her a picture of batch 001, bottle 001, and she said, "Do you love it? Is it good?" And I said, "Honestly, it's one of my favorite whiskeys."
Oh, well, I love about it.
And I'm not saying that because it has our name on it. I'm saying it because it's a really good whiskey.
It's really good. It's really good. I love it because you guys, when we were first talking about creating this with y'all, one of the first things you said about you as a personality, as a brand, is that there's just not a lot of fluff. Like the music itself and what you put off about yourself, it's just not a lot of fluff. It doesn't need all the extra added whatnot to it. It's just make it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's kind of been
our
I can't tell you how many times we've been reprimanded by the powers that be about our lack of social media prowess and about our lack of marketing prowess. We just, I think we like to keep it pretty simple. And, I think we like to let stuff speak for itself. And if, it's like our music. If you like it, you know it. And if you don't, we don't need to convince you that it's your thing. And that's kind of how I feel like the Round Prairie Rye is. It's got personality. It's simple. It's not churched up with a bunch of gimmicks. It's classic, but it's a take on a classic. It's original at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So you guys have a big year coming up, 2020.
We do.
After you released San Isabel, now you've got a big tour coming up. Tell me about that.
Let's see, March, April?
March, April, yeah.
Yeah.
Go back out on the road with San Isabel, songs from San Isabel, and probably a couple new ones.
Yeah?
Where are you going to be?
All over the place. West Coast, starting in the West Coast, working our way out to New York.
Yeah, we'll do West Coast, Midwest, hit the mountains, and then East Coast, Nashville, New York, Boston. So we cover all our bases.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy that we still get to do this with or without the help of Brian Cook.
Yeah. I was telling Joe in July we've been working for 4 years. We have a musical.
Yeah.
As weird as this sounds.
I was going to ask, since this was editable, I was hoping you could share something about that, because that's really exciting.
Never in a million years would I have imagined us doing this, but for about 4 years now, we've been working on a musical for The Outsiders. It's
You remember The Outsiders?
I do.
the
Yeah.
book
Pony
originally
Boy,
written by
Ralph
Susie
Macchio.
Hinton.
Yeah, S.E. Hinton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It was really
it
cool.
was a Francis Ford Coppola
It sure was.
vehicle as well, with a pretty amazing
They met
cast.
Francis Ford Coppola.
We got to meet
Get outta
Francis.
here.
He was
Wow.
about 37 feet tall.
Yeah,
And-
I think I could have fit inside his pocket
Yeah.
at the moment I met him.
Yeah. He's quite a human. Yeah, it was really cool. So
When is that coming out?
we're opening in a theater in Chicago
Cool.
at the Goodman,
Goodman
Theater in
Theater,
July. And hopefully if all goes well, you'll be able to catch it in New York.
That's
So
awesome.
that's the
fantastic.
hope.
That's fantastic.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, where can people learn about you guys or follow along to come see a show? Or all the
We're
rest?
very old-fashioned. We still
So they mail you letters? and-
Write letters.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're actually
We do correspondence.
yeah we're
Telegraph?
yeah we're telegraph. We're dot dash.
Mhm.
No, we still keep up with a good old-fashioned website, goodoldfashioned.com.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool.
JamestownRevival.com, and
Yeah.
if you punch it into any other social media platform, it'll probably get you close enough to
There you go.
figure out where we are.
Yeah.
I would like to go back to the whiskey and ask a question about the namesake, Round Prairie Rye, is named after Round Prairie Road.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Well, that is the dirt road where the ranch lies. So, we obviously we have a song, Round Prairie Road, and this ranch has kind of been the inspiration for Jamestown Revival, and so we thought it would be appropriate to name the whiskey after that as well.
Love it. Well, guys, here's to
Cheers.
you.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Here's to Round Prairie Rye.
Cheers.
Cheers. As we like to say at Okaneden,